much better. Okay. I think everything's working.
It's live.
All right, I think we could probably start. I'm gonna turn off a couple cameras real quick.
Okay.
Hey everybody, we're getting started
Why
here.
Why does it feel very high?
It's a little high.
It's a lot high.
Want me to fix it?
If you don't mind.
I do mind, but I'll fix it.
Do.
Done.
There it is. There it is.
That better?
Yeah.
Good. Well, you're sitting down. If you want to get higher,
no.
get off your chair.
It's hard to field questions.
Okay. Camera off, camera off. All right. Should we get rolling here?
I think that's a wonderful idea.
I got my mute button ready, so when if I have to clear the seasonal phlegm, I can go, and nobody hears anything. Okay.
I had to start doing my nasal cord again too.
Yeah, I just took a sinus thing this morning.
Headaches. Like, ugh.
All right. Let's watch some commercials. All right, it's Friday Live. I'm Mark.
And I'm Nicole.
We're going to get started here today. We're going to probably answer some woodworking questions.
Yep.
That's what we're here to do.
I forgot to post on Patreon.
Yeah, so we're going to grab all the questions today live from the YouTube chat. Normally we have Patreon questions, and if you want to help us out there, patreon.com/woodwhisperer. So Nicole's got a few things to show off. We've got a big charity event coming up really, really soon, and we have some things pertaining to that this morning to talk about.
Cosman Din in the chat room. Oh, are they sponsored by Duluth now?
I'm not wearing a Duluth
No, that's
shirt.
not Duluth, but I am wearing
I
a
did
Duluth
just take
shirt.
off my Duluth hoodie.
Yep.
So there's that.
Yes.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe not. You may never know.
He wears a lot of Duluth anyway. But yeah, we're going to be working with them. We're excited.
Oh wait, this is Hanes.
No,
Sorry. not today.
So stay tuned.
Yeah, actually,
They're
it was.
funny company. I love them.
I can't remember what it was about. This is going to sound like it's a commercial, but we're not.
Yeah, no.
We're not intended to do one today for Duluth. But probably about 2 years ago, maybe I was in the market for just more dad cargo shorts. Yes. and underwear, and someone's like, you got to check out Duluth. They've got some really good stuff, and I love their stuff. I bought a bunch of their stuff, and then I contacted them for advertising. And I'm like, hey, I think this is a good fit. Like, I found you guys. It's not like you sought me out. Let's do this. Make some beautiful advertising babies. And I think they completely ignored my email.
Yeah, they did.
Fast forward 2 years, and suddenly someone there knows who we are. Yeah. So there's that.
The humor in their ads.
Yeah, their marketing is pretty...
I love their marketing.
It's right up our alley,
Yeah, it
honestly.
really is. So I'm asking, so we have some jeans and stuff like that, the fire hose pants that he has to try on. It's hard to get him to try on clothes.
That's right. I try them on and then I'm like, okay, I'm dressed for the day. I mean, I believe if you're going to put clothing on, it should be for, like, because you're going to wear it.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we got going? Let's move into the good stuff.
Today is September 20th, as said by the clock behind me.
All day long.
And we are gearing up for Woodworkers Fighting Cancer. The auctions went live this morning.
Ooh.
So if you head over to 32auctions.com/WFC 2019, you will see, I actually have 3 more auctions I need to post. We have a lot of corporate sponsors, so what you'll see there are a number of amazing companies that said, hey, yes, we will give you, in this case, we have an Ox coffee box. Show that.
Oh, I got a job to do?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
He's looking at the auctions.
I was trying to bring up the auctions.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, hold on.
Try it. Yeah.
What this thing's messing with me.
I don't know, it's your computer.
Oh yeah, there we go. So this is the Ox coffee thing.
box.
This is one of the things that's in the auction.
Yes, they were so kind and reached out to us and said, hey, we would love to give one of these away, a package on the auctions. So you can bid on this right now. And that thing is rugged.
It's pretty wild. I mean, especially if you're into that portable coffee,
Yes.
simple coffee thing. It takes the pods that we all know and love. This is actually
Their
the
brand.
last one that I used, which was coincidentally my college nickname, All Day Smooth. And you just pop it in like this, push the buttons on the top, put your coffee mug over here. You got your big water bottle in the back. You put water in there, like that. But the whole thing is like, it's super rugged, really well built, and seriously, like if you hit the job site and you're not sure about your coffee situation, you tag one of these along,
I was like,
throw it in the back of the truck, you're good.
It's a handle, and I just think it's just really well built.
It's got a
Oh, it's retractable.
retractable
Our
cord,
kids would love to play with that.
right? I know. And it looks like it's got little things for, I guess, straps.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe tie downs.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you would do
Maybe.
with it. I don't know. Probably tie downs.
Either way, it's awesome, and we can't thank Ox enough for giving us one to auction off.
Totes.
Also,
Nicole.
Woodpeckers is in the auction, and they're giving away this T-square, not this one.
Yeah, this is mine. You can't have it. That's a TS24-2.
And-
Big old T-square.
Yeah, and there's their turning tools. I have a set of their turning tools to give away,
Yep. Cool.
and
I got some of the Bosch Shield stuff here.
Bow Shield.
So they are doing a 3-pack, not this
That one
size.
isn't listed yet. I forgot about
Okay.
that one, and I'm going to have
So
it
this will be
listed.
coming soon.
Yeah, that's going to be. Tight Bond is also going to be up there soon, and
Amazing.
the one that I care about most is
Oh boy, watch your coffee.
the quilt I made.
Mm-hmm.
Can you show?
I mean, we can. It's just big,
Well,
and it's going to get
just-
dirty.
Yeah, well.
Go to the auction site. You'll see it here.
Yeah.
I'll give
at
them
the-
a little bit of a
It's
closer
so comfy and warm.
closer view here.
Not all of Mark's shirts, but
So this is a good amount of shirts that I have worn over the years. If you've seen the way I do things on the show, I don't often wear shirts a lot. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
certain shirts I will wear
Yeah, yeah.
repeatedly, but a lot of them only get worn a few times. And they just, it's just because I'm fortunate to have a lot of t-shirts.
there's 3 Wood Whisperer shirts in that one too.
So the idea was Nicole first cleaned all of these
Yes,
shirts.
I washed
They were
them
all washed.
They're all washed.
Then she cuts them out, puts them on a backing, and the inside has this nice little tool pattern on there, so it's nice and soft. So if you're worried about it, the only thing coming in contact with your skin is the brand new fabric side.
Yes.
This side, I mean, you can flip it around if you want to cuddle with stuff that's been on my chest in the past. I can understand that. I mean, that's what Cremona likes to do. But, depending on what you're into. So anyway, Nicole worked really hard on this, all made by hand and stitched together with love
Yes.
on her Juki.
My Juki. I love it.
I love that
So
brand
yeah, Powermatic is also another sponsor. They donated a benchtop mortiser.
Mm-hmm.
Brusso donated a $500 gift card, which is already up to $500. But hey, it's charity. You can donate more.
Yeah. So Jay Babauta wants to know, I wonder which live stream chat they're reading from. Well, the only one.
The only one.
The one you're typing on.
Yes.
I did accidentally start a live stream on the go live now. So maybe they're looking at that, but there should not be a live stream going there right now.
Yeah.
But people might be in that chat room right now.
Weird.
So we're reading the one that's directly associated with this event, the one you just typed on. So
I will put the link in you wouldn't see it if you're not in the
if you're not in the right chat room. Well, that person who asked the question is in the chat room,
Yeah.
so I think they got it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about the auctions. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. This is not where you go for a bargain.
No.
Most of the items in the auction will reach their retail price. If they haven't already, it'll be very, very quick. You're not going there for a bargain. The idea is buy something you might have wanted to buy anyway, pay a little bit more, but knowing that all of the proceeds
And you
are
get
going
all
to the
of our
charity.
love. You get
Yes.
shout outs and all of that. In fact, Bell Forest donated an entire Roubo lumber kit, and
Right.
it's already at retail.
Yeah, because ultimately, if you don't use it to build a Roubo, you're still getting a really large amount of wood
Yes.
that anybody would be happy to have.
So that's awesome. So yes, woodworkersfightingcancer.com has all the details on the auction. You link to the auctions.
Yeah.
We have a very limited supply of some of the promotional. So like we have some WWFC coffee mugs. I think we have like 12 of those left. And a few sizes of the t-shirt, which the t-shirt's pretty cool. We have large and I think small sizes available still on that. And TWW Mom would really love it if you bought those coffee mugs.
Buy some mugs. TWW Mom, is moving from Arizona to New Jersey, and that means she has to pack up and bring any Wood Whisperer related paraphernalia, t-shirts, whatever she's got has to move with her, and there's nothing worse than having to move fragile coffee mugs and things like that. So if you don't mind.
2 streams. It says, yep, 2 streams. Everybody keeps saying there's 2 streams.
2 streams. Well, maybe
don't cross the streams.
It kicks something off. I mean, we're only actively streaming to one, but by starting that one first, it may have just confused things. So
Way to go. Way to go.
Well, it doesn't, yeah. So then ignore the one that's like the stream now. Make sure you're on the event page, the specific event page that Nicole made for the show. My bad. What are you going to do?
I don't know.
I haven't had enough coffee. Sorry.
It's weird how that works.
Well, I actually ended the old stream. I made sure I clicked finish and stop. So whatever. Whatevs. By the way, so Nicole mentioned it, woodworkersfightingcancer.com.
We have super chats in the other stream.
Oh gosh, you're going to be busy today. Woodworkersfightingcancer.com is where you go for all of this information. It's the hub for everything from the auctions to products that you could buy to help support the charity, or going directly to the charity itself. Do your research, learn about what they do, where the money goes if you want to get into that stuff.
CharityNavigator.com is a great place to look up charities. It will show you where the money goes.
Yeah, it's super important.
Cancer Research Institute scores very, very high on how they use the money that is donated. So we really like them because it goes all to the research.
Yeah, super important stuff. Let me thank a few people real quick before I forget.
There you go.
So yeah, a few folks who did help us out over on Patreon. Mark with a K, you're forgiven for spelling it that way, Mark. And Wes Hegg. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate the support. And again, that's patreon.com/woodwhisperer. And and I really have to say, it's thanks to the support of the patrons that we can run 2 active streams at the same time, making it confusing as possible for people.
Oh my goodness. You did get a super chat from Anel8Tor9.
Okay.
Said, time to move Deadpool. Thanks for the show. Looking forward to each week and learning so much.
Okay, I will move Deadpool, but I got to get a drill, and I can't do that right at the moment. I want to get to some questions. So let's make sure we move him.
I know that we talked about the auctions, but I'm sure somebody has already said, when is the build coming out?
Next week.
Next week is when the build starts, and then we'll be running that until the end of October. So I know you guys are ready.
Yeah, I know.
Well, so ready to build
we were actually prepared for the first time ever. So these projects have been built. We just got to do a little bit more filming to get them ready to roll.
Yes.
So probably late next week, the video and plans will come out, and then you will have plenty of time to build it. It's a fairly straightforward project.
I said Friday, but he might get a wild hair and release it.
Wild hair? Well, I got more than one wild hair, Nicole. There's quite a few wild hairs, especially in my eyebrows as I get older. I don't know what's going on there, like little antennae. But yeah, so we'll have that out Thursday, Friday. Again, fairly simple project, pretty easy to do.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's also go to woodworkersfightingcancer.com to find out how you submit your photos and what they. Do we even want to mention what our plan is? So, Woodworkers Fighting Cancer started as a thing where we wanted to pledge money. We've gotten into these auction things, and the auctions really generate a lot of revenue for the charity, so we love them. In fact, they're now like the lion's share. In the past, what we used to do was we'd have companies provide pledges, so for every project built, everybody would donate X number of dollars. The problem is that's such an open-ended thing, it's very hard to get a company to be like, sure, we'll sign on for an unknown amount of money. For us, we don't mind doing that as much. So what we're doing personally is donating $5 for every project completed, for every photo. And I mean, we'll see how we handle like classrooms and things like that, right? Sometimes a shop teacher will have a whole class build it, and we'll handle that on a case-by-case basis.
I count them all.
Yeah, basically. So it's $5 if you have a completed photo of the project, and if you do a YouTube video on it or any kind of instructional video where you show people what you've built, that's going to be $10, and we donate that just as part of our contribution to the charity ourselves.
I like Jason Small's thinking. Everyone should bid/donate 2 times this year since there was no Woodworkers Fighting Cancer.
Yeah, we didn't do last year.
Last year was hard, so
this year was hard.
Yeah.
For the same reasons, unfortunately, and it all has to do
gotten
with
so personal.
The reason why we do this charity is losing family members, and it's
to
tough.
Cancer. So.
Okay, let's get to some questions.
Okay. We have Sean Patterson in the chat, and he says, as you collect military coins, I thought you might like to know that today is National MIA POW Recognition Day. Shout out to all of our military members, especially those who have sacrificed their freedom and lives.
Absolutely.
So, I didn't know that. Thank you for letting me know, Sean.
Good to know.
Let's see. Brett said he's ready to make the dog riser bowl. He has a lot of walnut and alder.
Okay, let's build it.
Let's build it. Brett also, it's the same Brett. Britt?
No, Brett.
Brett. How do you set the depth of a router plane? My attempts with an adjustable square didn't work well, and I made my groove too deep.
Usually I'm not setting the router plane to any particular depth in the sense that I'm not actually measuring on the tool itself. Most of the time when I use a router plane, it's to adjust something that I cut with a power tool. So I have what I want to be, let's say, a 3/8 dado, 3/8 deep. But because, plywood or solid wood, a big panel might move up and down, I know that depth is irregular across the surface. So I will set this guy to the lowest point in that groove. I'll find the low spot just to the point where it starts to make a little bit of sawdust. And then once it's set to that spot, then I just continue from there and make it as deep as I need it to be. So if you are adjusting, and I guess I should clarify, are you using this as a finishing tool to something that's been cut on a power tool, or is this your primary way you're hogging out an actual full-scale dado with this tool and you're trying to get to a particular depth? That's a little bit harder to do and certainly more involved, but you take it in light passes, and the key is always to work your way down. You don't want to just jump right to the final depth, especially with a hand tool like this. You've got to slowly work your way there. So it's really hard to overshoot because you're going a little bit at a time as you work your way down. But again, it just kind of depends on which method you're trying to use, the hybrid method or simply pure power tools or pure hand tools.
So Josh is doing me a solid, and he's in the other chat room, and he's copying over the super chats for me.
Thank you, Josh.
Josh is my savior.
Really appreciate that.
I
can't believe it did that. That's so goofy.
I think it's my fault.
Why?
Because I tried to get ahead of scheduling the live streams.
Yeah.
And when you went live, for whatever reason, it went live on both of them.
Oh, both of the events?
Yeah.
Oh, that is weird.
That is weird. So I'm only going to do one at a time from here on out.
Okay.
I'm not going to try to get organized and plan ahead.
If we get too fancy, YouTube says no bueno.
Yeah, Paul Engel, the Patreon site didn't update because I was so focused on getting the Woodworkers Fighting Cancer stuff settled. I lost track. I'm sorry. But if you have a question, just drop it in the chat. I see everything.
Drop it in the chat. Well, if you don't, then Josh will.
Josh will. So Craig Chagrin Hammond did a super chat and said, my mom passed away last year after a short battle with brain cancer. Love that you all work to fight cancer. Thank you for all you do. Craig, I'm really sorry for your loss.
Sorry to hear that.
So
honestly, every year it just becomes harder and harder to do it for personal reasons because we got to keep talking about it, and I honestly I hate talking about it.
Yeah.
And it keeps all this stuff fresh in our minds, but it feels like it's always felt like this is part of what we're here for.
Yeah.
Is it all boils down to trying to focus on charity if possible.
Yeah. When something bad in my life happens, I always try to do something for someone else. Mm-hmm. Like when Dad passed away, I did an angel tree where I found families that needed help during the holidays, and I just put all my energy into that. Right. So that's what this is for me too. So
for sure.
Paul Engel did give me a question. He said, when cutting thick stock on my sliding miter saw, it typically takes a couple passes. Mm-hmm. I always extend the saw in the up position, and it makes my cuts towards the back. Oh, second part. I noticed several YouTube videos as well on the hang chair project, the practice of starting the initial top scribe on the pull, then cutting on the push and pull. Is this the best practice? Safe?
I have trouble commenting on best practice with a sliding compound miter saw because for me, the only way I've ever used it is to make sure the saw is in its fully pulled toward you position before it ever goes down, and then I push toward the fence. Now, if you have a good quality blade, that's going to give you perfectly good results so that if you are scoring the top and maybe working your way down on thicker cuts, it's a good idea to do that, first of all, because you have the possibility of these pieces pinching and falling in on itself. So if you're only making light cuts and going deeper and deeper each time, you're clearing out all that stock at the top, so you have less of a chance of pinching. If you go full depth, you're definitely, well, if the wood is a little bit unstable or if it's like springing back a little bit, you could have a serious bind issue on you. But I have seen people who I trust and who, can you kill one of the feeds?
I don't think I can.
Yeah, I have to initiate the...
Yeah, but I'm now in both chats.
Okay,
That's
wonderful.
That's going to be fun.
But I have seen people do things with sliding compound miter saws that I personally don't, I don't know that I would say it's totally unsafe. I just don't see the need to do it. But these are people who I respect, and I think they have enough experience to trust what they're doing. But I've seen people do crazy things. The way that Jory uses a chop saw is kind of nuts, because he's like, boom, 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 like he's into it. But it works for him. So it's hard for me to comment on it because I don't really do those other methods. I just find the way that's like from the manual, quote unquote, safest way to use it is to pull out, come down, and then go forward. If you're pulling toward you, you're actually pulling, it's kind of like a climb cut with a router, you're pulling with the motion of the blade, which has a tendency, if you should go too deep, it could throw the saw toward you. So what these people who are doing this are actually doing is just using, physical restraint to only go to a certain depth so that it doesn't have a chance of pulling. So now it comes down to dexterity and how well you could handle that saw. So in one person's hands, it might be perfectly safe, but in a novice's hands, maybe not so much. It could throw it back toward them. So for me, the way I do it, I consider to be the safest way, but that doesn't mean it's the only way.
Ness G's in the chat.
Ness
G's in the house.
Oh, what?
She said, good day, Spags. Happy Friday. Been a bit MIA. Witching now. Yay.
Yay. What's happening, Ness?
Yay. I got another super chat from Mineral 1961. For those of us with 6-inch joiners, what do you think about using a planer sled to flatten wide boards? I've had pretty good success with one.
I think it's a good idea, especially if you don't have the width to do it. I want it. I know somebody's commenting on the hairband. It happens to be a hairband. If this were a rubber band, I'd be doing the same thing.
It's my hairband.
I actually use this to tie my back hair in a ponytail. So, what was I talking about? Got distracted. Oh.
Planers, jointers.
Yeah, and especially if you build, there's plans out there for like a dedicated planer sled where you could very easily shim large boards and slide it under there to provide the support. Like you could really make a thing out of it. And I think it works just fine. As long as you can immobilize that board, you don't get any rocking or moving in it. It's a fantastic way to put your initial flat surface on one side and then process the board through other means and then back through the planer.
So weird. I wish I could just stop.
Yeah, the initiation of the stop command has to come from the streaming software. So somehow the software is still pushing it out.
Robert Randall wants to know, I want to build a pair of the mortgage chairs with my father when he visits. We will only have about 5 days to build together. I'm trying to decide what I should build ahead. Any advice?
Oh gosh, 5 days on the Morris chair? Get anything you can done, man. Like I would have to look at the project itself, which I can't do right now, to look at my timeline to see what I did, and I might be able to give some suggestions after I do that. But thinking about it now, it's hard to tell you exactly what you can do ahead of time. But obviously, you've got legs, you've got some rails, having all of that stuff pre-milled down to the final size and ready to go. But you're also, faced with the challenge of there's some things you're going to want to do. He said his dad is coming.
Yes.
His father. Mm-hmm. There are things you guys are probably going to want to do together. So how much you do ahead of time, it's hard for me to say. There's plenty you could do. Just start the project, right? But you want to keep some things that you guys can do together. You're going to spend a lot of time on those arms. So maybe having your laminations for the bent arms, have those laminations already cut, milled to final thickness, have your, maybe your bending jig, have that made up already. So then when your pop comes in, you guys take all your laminations, slap on the glue, put them in the bending form, and start moving forward. That I would think in terms of those things. But again, it's hard to say without actually looking at my step-by-step.
Step by step.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, baby.
I don't know. No, Nicole. Bad Nicole.
Yes, I was a blockhead. All right. Let me see. Do I have any more questions? This is where it starts to slow down because I forgot Patreon.
Because everyone fell asleep?
Yeah. So drop a question if you have a question. So what's up? How you doing?
Brian says, I think Jay Bates does it that way. It looks like he scores the top about a 1/16 of an inch for a clean cut and then takes the rest on the push, right? And that's the other thing too, like, what are you using your chop saw for? Is it a finished cut? Well, if it's a finished cut, then yeah, maybe you want to go through those extra steps of trying to get the cleanest cut possible. But with the blade that I use, and the fact that most of the time I'm not doing finished cuts over there, a little bit of tear out on that cut is not going to hurt anything, so I don't really worry about it.
Marshall Muller says, what's with the Goldie Wilson campaign poster?
What? How do you not know? You should be ashamed.
You need to watch Back to the Future right now.
Go stop this
Right
stream.
now.
Go watch Back to the Future.
I like how that sounds.
No, it's I like the sound of that.
I like the sound of it.
I like the sound of that. Mayor! Yeah, Goldie Wilson was running for mayor and Back to the Future. He was up for re-election, I think, in 1985 or something like that.
Yep.
And then in 1955, he was a young man working, sweeping in the cafe.
In the cafe.
And his boss was a turd.
And he had a gold tooth. I never noticed that until we put it on the projector.
Yeah, you can actually kind of see the discolored picture right there.
Has a gold tooth.
That's Goldie Wilson.
That's why his name is Goldie. Little fun facts. All right. Question from Jeff. Have you ever given any thought to a project that recreates something old? My dad is an antique dealer, and he's an avid collector of a special kind of frame, and I can't figure out how they were made.
Sometimes, I mean, it
did
really
that
has
with
to.
the green, and then they were like, "Don't do that."
It's got to catch my interest. I mean, I have done things like that. You're right. So Nicole's referring to when I went to take a class with Daryl Peart, I believe. We're making probably his Aurora nightstand or Fremont nightstand, I think it was. Aurora nightstand, actually. And during that class, they had connections. It's in Southern California, so a lot of the family members of, you know, the Green brothers or the Hall brothers, the ones who actually did the building of these things, they're still in the area. So John Hall was one of the builders of Green and Green stuff, and I think it's his grandson is in the area and is, I guess, friends with William Ing and Daryl Peart. And I was really interested in this frame that John Hall had made. Now, it looks kind of green and greenish, but you could see the influence on how, you know, while the Green brothers designed the furniture, the builders, it seemed like they definitely had some input into what the final thing would look like. So when you look at some of the stuff that the Hall brothers made on their own, it's pretty impressive in its own right. And they had some cool frames that they made. So this one in particular...
Was it Pop Woodworking that published it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So he brought the frame to the school, and I was able to take measurements and do all kinds of cool stuff with it. And then had an article written with Pop Woodworking, which was published. Everything was okay. And then I kind of got in trouble when
what were you gonna do? And they were like,
teach a class at William Ing School.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. So I think
okay.
they were okay with the article,
Yeah.
but then the class was something they were not okay with.
Interesting.
So we had to pull back on that.
So I think I found, yep, there it is. I found it. So here's the plans. I'm going to put a link in the chat room to the plans of this frame. It's a beautiful frame. But yeah, it's all out there.
Hold on. Scroll up. That doesn't look like my work. It's not my work.
No?
No.
But it's the frame.
It's a frame. It's not the same frame.
It's not the same frame?
No. So
that's not you?
No, that's not me. Excuse me.
Weird.
Don't put that link there.
Okay.
I mean, you can if people want that.
Yeah.
I have nothing against that frame, but
Where's yours at?
I don't know.
I'll
Look on our website. I think I put the article on our website. Anyway, point is, I do occasionally do stuff like that. To be honest, though, old furniture, not that interesting to me. You know, like when people do true reproductions, Queen Anne style, Chippendale, I have respect for those things. I think they're absolutely beautiful, but I'm not at a point in my woodworking career where I'm that interested in them, right?
I do want you to recreate the pie safe that my mom has.
Okay. Can I just get hers and clean it up?
No.
Power wash it and put a new finish on it?
No. I just want, it's a great piece of furniture, and you don't really see pie safes, and I think that would be a fun build. So.
as long as you make more pie to fill it.
Hey, my idea for the bread box was pretty good.
Yeah, eventually. Like you were talking about that for the longest time, and we eventually decided to build one.
I eventually wore you down.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about the pie save for a long time now, too. I got a question. Do I have a question? Oh, Sideboard, our sideband samurai says, have you received the dreaded letter from YouTube about losing your verification channel status?
I have.
We
I
have.
I think anybody you know on YouTube that had the badge before probably lost it, or at least got the notification about losing the badge. For anybody who wants to know what this is about, YouTube had this verification system. So if you reached
I didn't even notice when we got it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, if you reached some internal criteria to be judged by YouTube, they would give you this little check mark by your name. The idea is that it's saying you are authentic, you are who you say you are. So when people see content published by you, they know it's the real thing. Or if they see a comment come in on a video, they know it's you because you got that little check mark. If you don't have that and you wind up having people steal your videos,
dogs and cats
living together. If you're a person who winds up let's say you're like a Duresta, somebody with like a massive YouTube following. He's going to have his videos taken all the time and reposted on other channels.
And we do too.
We get that too.
Yeah.
Probably not as much as he does, but we get that. And what winds up happening is that's tough for him. He's got to go out there and actually police this and pull these channels down. But for the user, for the viewer, it's nice for them to immediately look at the person who posted it, not see that check mark and go, wait, this isn't a Duresta video. Like this isn't the real thing. So it's kind of it's supposedly, that's the idea, is it's to help people verify that the content they're seeing is legitimately from that company. What they recently did was made an announcement about pulling that back, and lots of channels have lost that. And when you look at the channels who've lost, I've seen accounts as high as 2.5 million subscribers who've lost this. So the reason they're doing it is just kind of BS. If you ask me, the reason it's happening is because YouTube is not what you think it is. YouTube is there to make money, and they're there to court companies like Disney and big broadcasters and big corporations, and they want to be a platform that caters to that because that drives revenue for advertising. People like us, the middle tier and the lower tier people, as much as you like, this is what kills me when people call themselves YouTubers. Stop doing that. YouTube is not your friend, and you don't want your occupation or even your pastime to be associated with this company who doesn't give a crap about you.
What's interesting to me, I read YouTube's response was, we want to identify the channels that are authentic to YouTube, which tells me they're getting a little upset with Amazon right now because a lot of YouTube videos are showing
also
up on
going
Amazon.
on Amazon's platform.
So
yeah, I mean, if I could just give you just one piece, maybe not even advice, do what you want to do. It's my plea. Let's call it that. Let's stop using the term YouTuber. You are a content creator. A lot of people hate that term too, but it's more accurate. You might be a video producer. Hey, God forbid, you might just be a woodworker.
Yeah.
And you film what you do and you share it with people. Don't be a YouTuber. Run your own business. Don't be the little fish on the back of the shark that is YouTube. Be your own thing. Stop calling yourselves YouTubers.
Use them. Just use them.
Use them for what they're good for. And then when they throw you to the side, then you could throw them to the side because you've thought about a contingency plan that doesn't involve YouTube. Yep. So please stop with the YouTuber stuff. Okay, anyway.
Yeah, hit on a little nerve there, Sideboard.
No, it's good. It's good.
It's good. I'm glad.
This isn't what we're here to talk about, but I think a lot of people are curious about our thoughts on that. So ultimately,
because there are people that are really, really upset.
Well, it can be harmful to people depending on how their model is set up. If they're that invested in the YouTube ecosystem, this might be harmful to them. Legitimately, a difficult thing for them to deal with. But you know what happened when that email came in? We laughed.
He goes, "Do you want to do it?" I'm like,
And there's an appeal process, and I'm like, why? Like, why? Our business is not dependent on that stupid check mark.
Yeah.
And they could do whatever the heck they want to do because it's YouTube's business. They could do what they want. But I know that YouTube is not looking for my best interests.
No.
The people who helped YouTube become the behemoth that it is are not important to them. It's money. They're a business. They're trying to make money. Yeah. And they make less money off of you than they make off of other larger corporations.
Or,
you ain't no Disney. I'll tell you
Disney. We got some more super chats. Jason, oh wait a minute. Yeah, Jason's Spenny.
Okay.
Thank you for your work.
Meanwhile, both streams shut down. I get another email. You've been demonetized. All right, sorry. So it's going to happen.
He said, coffee on me from Jason. So thank you, Jason.
Oh, thank you, Jason.
And then Jake Baker said, what glue would you use with bamboo plywood? PVA, epoxy, bamboo plywood. They make bamboo plywood.
Oh, yeah. What he wants to know what you would glue it with?
What glue would you use with it?
Oh, I don't know, man. I haven't really worked with it that much. If it's raw, I see no reason why it wouldn't accept standard PVA glues. They should still be able to bind to the fibers, but anyone who maybe routinely works with bamboo might know something more about it, that it works better with this glue or that glue. I don't have a great answer for it, though. Worth Effort says, Sean, I'd prefer to call you Sean, is that okay? With Jason being newish to furniture, are there things he's pointing out that are so instinctive to you that you didn't realize you need to explain to him and the audience? Not really. Jason kind of goes with the flow, takes it as is. I mean, he might ask questions here and there. I do often have to remind myself to slow down and explain something if I think it might be a little complicated. The one thing I can see him gloss over on is math. So when we get into the deep details, for instance, we did a box joint jig. Well, a lot of people just, math just isn't their thing. But we did the box joint jig using William Ing's instructions, and this will be in a future guild video. And he's a caliper woodworker. So he's like, what you want is your pin to be 4 thousandths less than the opening from the dado blade. And I could see Jason just going like, this is not what he wants. Like his idea of making furniture is not pulling out a caliper,
He's more
taking
of
measurements.
what's the measurements that you do, the relative dimension.
More of a relative dimension guy. But that said, having him in the shop does put me in a frame of mind as a teacher when I'm doing a video that, oh yeah, that's right, I could explain this thing and I could add a little bit more meat to this by teaching this other element that I might not have thought about if I was just on my own ripping through this project. So
speaking of teacher, not that you're going to teach, we forgot to mention that if you are in Colorado Springs tomorrow, September 21st.
Oh, how did we forget to mention that?
I don't know. We will be at the WoodCraft from 10 until 12. It's kind of a unofficial meetup, because WoodCraft is having a big event with
it's like
demos,
a big sales, demos, all
and
kinds of stuff.
The jet sales going on. There's a number of sales going on. So WoodCraft is doing it up. They're doing giveaways, and Mark and I will be there. We have some extra copies of the Essential Joinery book that I'll be selling.
Sailing?
Sailing?
We're going to be sailing them.
Sail away.
Wolfman says bamboo is very waxy.
Oh.
So that certainly could play a part in your choice, especially if it truly is a waxy material. Might not do so well with water-based glues. So once again, I like to make sure.
And then Kenneth Dunn and Frank Howarth. Is it how you say Howarth?
Howarth.
Howarth. On YouTube uses bamboo plywood on his kitchen remodel. So this might be a good reference.
But how do we know it's actually Frank? He doesn't have a verified badge anymore. Could be someone else. It could be an imposter. Anyways.
YouTube, you give us fodder for days.
Here's another thing. If you are a fan of all these people who do their stuff on YouTube, try to patronize other things that they do. Go to their website. Watch the videos on their website. They might be a YouTube embed, but go to their website. See other ways that you could support them. Help these people that are creators. Help them find business elsewhere, because the leash of YouTube can be loosened if they know that income is coming in from other sources, right? So as viewers, we can help the people we like the most.
Some of them sell plans directly from their
Selling
website.
plans, they have Patreon campaigns. There are other ways. Make them see that we don't have to need, we don't have a need for YouTube.
Yep.
As we stream on YouTube's platform. Which is fantastic. But look, I'm a legit YouTuber, Nicole.
I know you are.
I've been there since the beginning.
Yep.
And if anyone deserves that title,
2006.
If anyone deserves that title, it's me.
Yeah.
And that's why I've never used it.
So Jake, thank you for that generous super chat again. Hopefully, gave you some resources for that.
But he's being
Richard, how do we know this is the real Mark and Nicole?
Well, you don't know which stream is real.
Check mark.
Yeah, actually, we should have made paper check marks.
Just put
them on our shirts.
We don't need no stinking check marks.
Yeah.
Do you have a question? You're looking.
No, I'm just looking. Someone wants this. Someone says we should have a auction to choose my Halloween costume. Usually that's a family decision.
Yeah, the family. So I believe
family theme.
Even though we are primarily a Marvel family, my daughter is really into Wonder Woman, Supergirl books because I'll give DC the credit. They make amazing kid books. They hook them early. They try to hook them. Marvel.
And then they grow up and realize, oh, these guys don't know how to make movies. Like, this is awful.
But the kids' books are really good.
Yeah, they're good.
So Ava's really been into a number of Wonder Woman. There's one, it's Batgirl and Wonder Woman, and Poison Ivy turns into a tree, and it blew her mind.
That's awesome.
So I think we're going to be dressing up as DC superheroes for Halloween this year.
What's this mean? What's Glenn mean? He says, Mark, you are just not the same today. Well, first of all, my name's spelled with a C, so I don't know who you're talking to. But I'll assume you're talking to me, and I'm just not the same today. I think you know what he's referring to.
What?
I don't have my glasses on.
Oh.
I think he's right. That would not be the same as the last time. Okay. All right, what else we got? I don't like when I don't have my pre-selected questions.
You know what? He's probably talking about your YouTube rant, too.
What about it?
I don't know.
Well, anybody who knows me well knows that it doesn't take much to get me to go off on a rant about YouTube or making money or advertising. It's kind of one of my hobbies.
Yeah. Glenn just said demonetized.
Again. Yeah, DC cartoons are fantastic. I actually downloaded that DC Universe app.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I might subscribe because there looks to be like some really cool stuff on there.
Our friend Hakito told us about the DC Universe app. We were playing Borderlands 3 together. It was pretty awesome.
New t-shirt idea. Verified Mark and verified Nicole. We'd have to get on that quickly, like while it's a topic people care about. Because like you wait 2 weeks, no one's going to be talking about it anymore.
It'll be something else.
What else we got?
Chris Calnassi.
Ah, that guy.
Chris. He said, hey, Mark. Do you ever feel like you're already working 3 steps ahead in your head than where you're currently at? Or do you stay focused 1 step at a time? Have a wonderful weekend. That's a good question.
I try to stay focused 1 step at a time with a little bit of forethought into what's coming. If you don't look ahead and see what's coming, you're bound to slip up and make a mistake. But you don't want to think too far and lock yourself into those future step thoughts, because you might focus so much that you lose sight. In a very literal sense, one of the best pieces of safety advice I'd ever received, and I wish I could remember where I first heard this. It was probably some old woodworking VHS tape, where when it comes to safety, most of the mistakes we make, those moments of inattention, they happen when you're worried about the next thing. Now, if you're batching out a bunch of cuts, let's say you're at the table saw and you got 10 pieces to run through, it's a pretty brainless, mindless task, right? Once everything's set up, you're going. We have a tendency to think about, well, what am I going to do next with these pieces? Or maybe what am I going to eat for lunch? Whatever it is that's on your mind, you may drift to that. And that moment of inattention is when you just maybe move that piece slightly over, bam, it hits the blade. Even if you have a riving knife and you hit that back of the blade a little bit too soon, let's just say something happens. But that's usually, I found, when stupid mistakes happen, it's when I'm distracted because I'm thinking about future steps. So I've actually trained myself and worked very hard to train myself to stay focused in the now. Whatever I'm doing at this moment with this tool is my primary focus. So I am not actively thinking about those next steps. But in the broad sense, you have to think about those next steps because they help dictate what you're doing right now. So it's kind of a confusing answer, and hopefully that makes sense to you.
I got a question here from Sean Patterson. Are there any safety concerns with heights of working surfaces for tools like a router table or CMS? I'm trying to layer tools vertically to maximize shop space.
Yeah, I would be concerned if they got too close to my face. You know what I mean? If you're like Cremona at the table saw, and you're down there like this, and you're pushing stuff through, seriously, you need to think about the path of destruction. So if something goes wrong on a tool, and I actually have an old video about this. It was one of our Woodworkers Safety Week videos that I did, and I think it was like, what did I call it? Either like my mistake or worst case scenario. It was one of those things where I went to a few different tools, and I was explaining what can go wrong. And if you think about, as you're pushing a piece of wood through or you're using a miter saw, what is going to happen if things go south? And if you think about that, you can determine where the wood might go, where your hands should be and where they shouldn't be. All of those things inform your posture at a tool and where you should stand. So if I know, worst case scenario, this thing's going to hit the blade and shoot back, I might want to stand over here and push it through this way so that my body is not in the way. So this definitely comes into play when we're talking about height. So if the height is such that a kickback is going to go right into your groin, you might want to move that thing a little bit or stand in a different position. And certainly if you go higher and you're working up at your chest, a kickback from a router table that's mounted this high could be really damn scary, because now your head, your neck, your throat, all these things are involved in that, and it does become a little bit of a safety issue. So I think there are limits to how low or how high I would go with a particular tool.
I pulled Sean's question because he referenced router table, and I forgot to mention on the auctions, MLCS gave us a router table to auction off.
Woo, woo, woo. Oh, that's a nice one too.
So Mitch, if you're watching, thank you so much for
Mitch.
those donations. He gave us 3 things, including the router table, and I'm pulling up a list.
Bill wants to know, does the Ultimate TWW Guild Project Bundle in the auction include future projects, like a permanent free pass, or is it just the current projects?
Just the current projects.
Yeah.
Basically, you win that auction, I flip the switch, everything is available.
Everything we currently have, you have, but
not the pre-orders that are there.
Oh, including the pre-orders?
Yes, including the pre-orders.
Well, you're awfully generous, Nicole. I would not have done that.
I'm trying to get some money for a cancer charity, okay?
That's fine. No, that's fine. I think you would have got the same amount of money without that, but let's not go there. It's fine.
Everything that you see.
I'm not upset at all.
Good.
It's fine.
Everything that you see, it is.
I'm snorting today.
You're snorting. I'm snorting. We're all snorting.
That's what Ava does.
What?
Did you hear? Cremona was caught heightening.
What's that? What is that? What's heightening?
Putting lifts in his shoes.
No.
I don't know for sure, but that is like a Seinfeld reference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there was the little person. What's his name? I forget the guy's name.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, super funny actor.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was in there, and he was because the kid, he was a stunt double basically, and the kid keeps growing.
That's right.
So he caught him. They said he was caught heightening because he was wearing lifts in his shoes to keep up with the kid. So I don't know if he was doing a Seinfeld reference, but if so, well done.
So yes, Bill, bid on the full access pass to the guild. There's really no other way to do that other than adding them to your cart one by one by one.
Dina says, I must be on the wrong stream. There are no dislikes. Oh, give it time, my friend. Give it time.
What's the other stream?
Everybody pound.
There's one on the other one, though.
Okay, good.
We're good.
Pound the like button. Let's offset that one bad
See, I'm going to delete this one, though.
Yeah, that'll go bye-bye.
Oh, that's hilarious.
There's no limit to how low I will go, says Glenn, with one N.
Let's see. We got a question here from Ben. I'm looking to purchase a new 8-inch Grizzly jointer. I've never owned a jointer before, but I have a lot of projects to do and just got a lot of free lumber from my father-in-law. I have a benchtop planer. Was that a question?
He's just letting us know.
He just let me know.
That's good. It sounds like you're ready to roll.
You're on track, man. Nick Gutterman says, I'm inheriting a old table saw that has no fence. It's about the size of a job site saw. Is there a fence that I can add on to this?
Yeah, it depends. A lot of times those job site smaller saws have proprietary rails, so just adding a fence to it can be a little bit tricky. If you are getting a fence system that comes with its own rails, then you might be able to retrofit those onto your saw, but that might involve drilling, tapping, or new bolts or whatever. I know when I had a smaller, not a job site saw, but a contractor saw. It was an old Craftsman. I was able to put a Vega fence on there, which had a new rail, and the fence system was just a complete unit, and I was able to retrofit that onto the saw. So there could be something. It just depends on what you're dealing with.
Tony Hara just says, have you ever thought about doing a Pennsylvania spice box build? I believe Matt Cremona is still doing his spice box.
No. There's a specific thing.
Is it a different one?
Yeah, Cremona's doing more like a modern spice box. The Pennsylvania spice box is kind of like a classic woodworking project.
Oh, okay.
It's a very, like when you see it, you know it.
Gotcha.
And I haven't really thought about that. I don't have any major objections to it. I've always kind of liked it. But yeah, Never say never.
What does it look?
I'll
Google it. If you just Google it, you'll
I'll
find it.
Google it.
2 seconds.
I Google it.
Hey Google.
Hey Google.
What's the benefit of a spice box? All right. Go ahead.
Sorry.
You all right?
It's just making me laugh. Okay. Making me laugh.
That's what I do.
I know. That's why I married you.
It's
honestly.
a pencil vester spice box.
Making me cry too. Gary Badger, Mark. Now that you've used Osmo and Rubio, Monaco.
Oh yes.
Which one do you prefer?
I like them both.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick. Honestly, I'm gonna like the one that gives me more money. Nicole, that's what I do.
Neither one are giving you anything.
We're bone dry. It's like trying to get milk from a duck.
We don't need you. We make a great product.
Can you get milk from a duck? Is that what the phrase is? Blood from a rock.
Maybe.
That's one saying.
Yeah.
Can you milk a duck?
I don't think so.
They got boobies?
I have nipples, Greg. Can you
milk me? I'm going to try to milk a duck the next time I see one. This may not go well for me or the duck. I like them both, and the thing is, it's funny. Like I thought I might be gravitating to one or the other, but there have been none of them, neither of them.
They're never on sale?
No.
Really?
Oh no. I mean, you might find a vendor somewhere weird who can't sell them, sort of like we're reducing all of our Osmo or Rubio, but I keep going back and forth. So I'll do like 2 projects with Osmo, and then the next 2 projects with Rubio. I have found uses for both of them. The one thing to keep in mind is Rubio is the only one that's really no VOC. The Osmo products, I tend to rely on them a little bit more when I'm a little more concerned about durability because they do develop a film. Not the traditional film we're used to, but that hard wax film is it's pretty noticeable on the surface, more noticeable than Rubio. So I wind up using Osmo on things that I need a little bit more durability. I just used it on an outdoor piece. But both of them are pretty fantastic. The Osmo, though, does have more VOCs. It's a little bit more pungent. You want to probably either wear a respirator or have really good ventilation like any other kind of finish. You don't want to breathe that stuff in, but it's not as bad as other types of finish, armor seal, things that we've used a lot in the past, lacquers and stuff like that. So they're both comparable, but man, I like them both. And I am such a convert with that stuff because I really poo-pooed hard wax oils, especially Rubio, for a long time. And it's not that they've changed, I've changed. And it's something that I really have come to appreciate what those finishes can offer.
Mike Damer just did a super chat and said, for more hair ties for your back ponytail.
Let's do it up. I want a whole series of ponytails, like one of those guys from Game of Thrones. All right, you know what I'm talking about.
Drago.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got?
We got a question here from Kormoto. Mark.
Water from a stone. Okay. I got the blood from a stone.
Blood from a turnip.
A turnip. No one says milk from a duck?
I've never heard of it.
Did I just make that up? If so, I'm a genius. All right.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, you don't often see little baby ducks nursing, do you?
I don't know.
On their mommy duck. She's got a little train going, and there's all these little ducks under the water hanging on. Okay.
So Kormoto wants to know.
Dothraki. Yes, that's what
Mark
it is.
with a C. How did the beer butt chicken turn out? It was yummy.
Second time I've made it.
Yeah.
Joe Clemmer sent us a box of shit.
Yeah.
And there goes our clean tag.
Oh, yes.
It's a brand of. It's a name brand.
It's a name brand. That's what you're gonna have to look for.
That's the name of the spice. And they have one in particular, and I'll go easy because there might be kids watching. Yeah. It's called Good, S-H-I-T. And it is probably the best rub I have ever eaten on chicken.
It really is.
It's fabulous. And I do the beer butt chicken or beer can chicken recipe with that. So you get the sort of flavor.
Oh, it's on Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to put...
I'll put it in. Didn't we say we were going to start like a barbecue section to the Amazon store?
Yeah, maybe?
Yeah, because someone was asking about the uni.
Oh, yeah.
And I talk too much about barbecue.
Yeah.
So anyway, this stuff, you just generously rub the chicken with it. I actually brine the chicken ahead of time, do the beer butt chicken thing, 350 on the Primo grill, and oh my gosh, it's so good.
It was amazing.
I'm not I like chicken, but I usually go to chicken when I want like a lean breast meat, fairly healthy protein.
Yeah.
I don't usually dive in. Like if I see chicken and other things, the chicken's probably the last thing I'm going to go for. But if it's rubbed with that stuff, I'm gonna rub that stuff on my face. I'm gonna rub it on my chest. I'm gonna use it to
So Mark's Barbecue is
do my back hair.
BBQ.
Yeah, Mark's Barbecue.
Okay.
Stuff Mark likes, uses, and likes. So yeah, look for that in our Amazon store if you're interested in my thoughts on barbecue gear and rubs and all that stuff.
I'll put the uni in there too.
And look, I like making my own rub. It's a nice thing to do. But sometimes, like the folks who specialize in this stuff, they get such consistency and they put who knows what in it, but man, it tastes good. Mm-hmm. All right.
So yeah, head on over to Amazon.com/shop/The Wood Whisperer, and I just made a category called Mark's Barbecue, and I added the seasoning that he's talking about.
Dieter
Again,
says,
thank you, Joe.
Are you thinking of water off a duck's back? No, I'm definitely thinking about milking a duck. For sure. Matt Van Overloop is clarifying that they do not have mammary glands. This is quite a shame.
What
Because
is it?
a duck with boobs would be hilarious.
I got a question from Sean. Oh no, we already did that one. Gary, we already did that one. Jeremiah,
Uh-huh.
Did you have any blade drift on your Bosch Miter saw? Mine seems to drift to the right when extended.
Not really. I never really noticed that. The only time I really had significant drift on a miter saw was when I bought that new Makita something 19, LS something 19. They came out with this new Makita that I was so stoked about because outside of Festool's efforts in dust collection, no one has figured it out. The Bosch slider is a pretty close second. It works okay, but that second is, I said close second, I didn't mean that. It's actually a distant second. Well, Makita's version actually looked pretty good. I mean, it wasn't maybe not as good as the Festool dust collection, but it was dang good. And I got that thing in, I was so excited, and then it was just like quality control issues. And I went through 3 different saws, they all suffered from the same problem, and I'm like, this is just BS, this is junk, and sent it back. I don't know if they've ever addressed the issue, if it's ever been fixed. Someday I might try again, but I really am afraid to just go through the trouble of receiving this big thing, setting it up, and then going, yep, they still haven't fixed this issue.
There's a lot of Seinfeld references in the chat today.
It's hard to avoid it.
Somebody said that Seinfeld's on Netflix now.
Because you've been watching it on Hulu.
Well, Hulu or on Plex,
Yeah.
because we got all the
Oh,
episodes.
that's right. That was a Christmas gift I got for you.
You know how long it took me to rip all those? It took a long dang time.
I got a question here from Stumptown Woodworks.
Yeah, title of the show, Milk from a Duck.
If you had a 1.5 horsepower table saw, would you stay with a thin kerf or use a full until you get into a situation where it doesn't work well?
Well, it kind of depends on how it behaves. You're in that borderline territory where you could still get some benefit from the thin kerf, but you might already have full kerf blades, so you're tempted to just stick with those. I would just see how it performs. There might be certain woods, if I know it's going to be a really hard material that's going to be tough to cut through, I might switch back to the thin kerf just to get through it. Yeah, I mean, if it's a good quality blade, I might at that point, if I see that routinely it's having trouble and I could hear the motor slowing down a little bit, I might just commit to the thin kerf, make sure I have a thin kerf riving knife, and just use that, full time. Mm-hmm. But it really depends on what I see.
Mike Davies says, can I make a previous year's Woodworker Fighting Cancer build have it count? I don't have a dog.
No.
I don't know how that would work. Like
We can't
it
do
would
that
be impossible for me to keep track of
because
that.
people continue to build these projects. They're not just for the charity.
Yeah.
We put the plans out there,
Yeah.
and people to this day are still building some of our first projects that we put out. So we do have to draw the line with stuff like this on past years' projects not qualifying for the current one. We also try to design things that are very easy to gift,
Yeah.
sell, auction.
Yeah.
So while you don't have pups, I guarantee you know people who do.
So we're auctioning off the second one that you made.
Yeah.
And I put in the auction title, dog or really large cat feeder.
Did we do a cat on stilts thing before we made that joke? Okay. Let's not do that one again. Chris wants to see the MFT
Yeah, he
cart.
does.
Maybe. It's all the way over there.
All the way over there.
So maybe not.
It's so far.
Oh, you know what? I wanted to show this too. Yeah, Howard the Duck made an appearance in Endgame. This is a sample
Don't forget
piece.
to do that.
I got in trouble with some guy
You got in trouble with me too.
for rubbing my nose and saying boogies. And I'm like, look, people, if you think that that's disgusting, you should spend a day with me. Because I do some things. Jason gets to see them all.
Oh, yes,
It's awesome. Actually, the best thing to do is if you fart near the air cleaner, but you fart in front of it, it doesn't filter out the smells, right? It's just for particulates.
Okay.
So it just blows the fart further down the shop.
I love that you guys are trying to like gross each other out.
This is what we do. So anyway, I'm doing the under Roubo workbench cabinet, right? To store chisels, tools, whatever you want to put in there. And I'm trying to decide on the Caseworks joinery, what I want to do. And I didn't feel like doing dovetail, so I'm thinking about box joints. And this is just a sample, but it's a roughly 22-inch wide panel. So this would be a stand-in for a side. This is a stand-in for a top, and I just cut them short. So we went through the process of making the jig and just kind of perfecting the fit and seeing if we couldn't get a decent result. And what's interesting is your tolerance when you go for a really wide piece like this. Let's say, and again, I'm following the William Ng method of doing this. Let's say you normally allow yourself like 6/1000ths. That's what William typically recommends. 6/1000ths of an inch where your pins are slightly smaller than the opening. You need that space to allow those things to go together, especially after there's glue. But that's if you're just doing like a regular drawer. Imagine doing 20 inches, which is actually 30 of these bad boys. Going together, that's a lot of friction, and they all have to seat perfectly at the same time. So I think we're going to have to allow for a little bit more room than 6/1000, maybe 8/1000ths we'll try. But this was our proof of concept that a 22-inch wide panel, we can get that to work with box joints. And it came out pretty well. I think that was a success. It's just a little bit snug, but plywood, it's fine. It worked okay.
Kurt says he has a question from a friend, George. Could you expand the space underneath the desk to give it a little bit more headroom?
I can do whatever you want.
Seinfeld. Let's see. Well, it's now another quilt. Another quilt? Huh? No.
And Chris says, Mark, it's on wheels. But it's heavy and it's big. Actually, the thing is, I've got the little supports that I put. A lot of people were asking questions. I don't have them here. The toggle clamps that I used. Instead of using like a full scale system, like anything on wheels, when you try to immobilize that, it's kind of a challenge, So there's different things. Rockler sells these little legs that you can kind of plop down, so you get them on wheels and you take them off the wheels. What I decided to do was use a toggle clamp, and I retrofitted it with a foot on a bolt. So it's a little rubber foot with a 5/16 bolt, goes up into the toggle clamp. So I have these on the back end of the cart. All I have to do is push the toggle clamp down. It's not fully supporting the table. It's just barely like taking the weight off of the back wheels and transferring it to those little legs, sharing the load in a sense, but also by doing that, preventing it from moving. So between the locking casters in the front and the toggle clamps in the back, it doesn't move. All this to say, I have them perfectly dialed in and I don't want to move them. So, this thing, I was looking at our videos again, we were so backed up on videos. I have a feeling I'll be taking a lot of time off in December.
And you're just going to
and I have a feeling
a ton of videos.
That's when the videos are going to come out.
Bob Clark wants to know, if you were doing the executive desk today, what finish would you choose? What did you pick on?
Oh, yeah. So that was at the time when I was still really trying to discover, can I trust Rubio? Can I trust Osmo? And what I was trying to prove to myself was that an oil and wax home blend, traditional oil wax. So using something like a polymerized linseed oil, which is what I did. I used tried and true polymerized linseed oil, kind of looks and behaves like a pure oil. There's no thinners or anything in it. And then mixing some wax in there. That was the finish I put on the desk. So I'm so glad that I did this test though, because that finish takes many coats to get to the many coats to get to the point that it looks like it's got finish on it, right? And a lot of times that's how it goes with oil. But I, varied the wax content and tried a bunch of different things, and still took a lot of coats to get where I wanted it to be. The best way that I can describe this is when people say, well, a hard wax oil, can I just do the classic finish? Isn't this something we've been doing for a long time? Yes and no. If you want to use a traditional oil wax finish, you can kind of get to a point where it's very similar to what you get with Rubio and Osmo. The difference is it may take you months and numerous coats to get there with the traditional finish. But if you use Osmo and Rubio, you're usually there in one coat, and if not one, maybe two coats. Most woods, one coat. And you have that same level of protection, that same very natural looking appearance, and that same silky smooth feel, but with a single coat. And you have a finish that's just more durable because the waxes in there are harder than the waxes I was able to get, carnauba and beeswax. So the stuff that's left is actually harder. So that's kind of the way I look at it. Like, yeah, you could go that old school route, but you're getting there in one step much faster with these newer formulations of hard wax oils. So to answer your question, I have to think what the question was.
What was the
I get into my own head so many times, it's difficult. I probably, if I were to do it again, just for the sake of simplicity, I would go with either Rubio or Osmo.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nathan Porter wanted to know if you could list some good wood species options for the Rubio workbench. I went ahead and put in the chat room the link to Bell Forest because they have 3 packages. They have ash, hard maple, soft maple, and this is actually made of soft maple. Soft maple.
My chop is hard maple.
And the auction package that Bell Forest gave us is for soft maple as well.
Yeah.
So those are just 3 suggestions.
Just 3, and
Just
those are
3.
good ones. Those
Somebody
are
just said hard
common.
and thick.
Who what?
Hard and thick, I think.
Sir Hard and Thick?
Cheap and thick.
Oh, okay. Are we talking about,
Matt said.
it sounds like Titebond's glue.
Yeah, I know, right?
Quick and thick.
Quick and thick. And Chris said in the Rubio videos, you talk about a lot of options.
Yeah, and that's the thing with workbenches, from species you use, typically, you don't want the softest stuff in the world, but whatever you can get a lot of inexpensively. If budget isn't much of an issue, then you could really target what's the best wood for a workbench. But I think most of us are trying to compromise and finding like, what do I have access to in the thicknesses I need, and then go from there and choose from that set.
John Pronto says, how about hickory for the Roubo?
You can do hickory, but hickory's hard, man. Hard and splintery. It's the same reason why I might not even use hard maple. A lot of people want hard maple because it's hard. It's a good traditional workbench wood, but I went with soft maple because I didn't feel like I needed that additional density and hardness that comes with hard versus soft. And soft is a little easier for me to work. Someone is asking about Sonos or something?
Somebody, yeah.
Okay, recommendations on a shop stereo system.
And then Bev says we have the Sonos wireless in our shop. And it
There you
works
go.
there.
Okay, my hand-me-down stereo receiver just went out looking for a new system. I would 100% agree with Sonos. A little bit pricey, but we're very in the Sonos ecosystem. We have it throughout the house. I
They will
even
go
have
on
one in the backyard.
And they'll go on sale during the holidays.
Definitely during the holidays, and a lot of times you get like not a 2-for-1 deal,
Yeah.
but it's a package deal with 2, and you get them at a lower price. In the shop, and a lot of you might be the same, you might have an old set of speakers that you just really, really like. You want something a little beefier. I have in-ceiling speakers that we it's in our own house. I took it from another room where they weren't being used, patched it, and put them in the ceiling here. I use the Sonos amp, which is basically Sonos system built into a box but no speakers, and it has enough power to power a standard set of music speakers or home theater speakers or whatever.
Is it the beam or no, the amp?
That they make 2 of them. So the newer amp is almost like a pro version, quote unquote. It's more powerful. And then they have the older amp. I don't even know if I imagine they still sell it, but it's cheaper. So one is white and the other is black.
Is that the one we have downstairs?
Yes. So the one that's downstairs in the basement is the white one. I bought that one for the shop. And that's the thing. It is pricey for this tech, guys. It's like $600.
But it works like really
If
well.
you just want a flawless, easy app control, Jay and I both have access to the app so we can change it in the shop, and then if we go and work in the backyard on something, I can just share that with the backyard. It's just a great integrated system. But just keep in mind with Sonos stuff, you're locked in. I mean, some of the stuff can play with other tech. You can, sometimes, I don't know if you could send a Bluetooth signal to some of the models. I think you might be able to, but you have like integrations with some of the voice systems that are out there.
Alexa.
So there are integrations, but when you're in Sonos's world, you're really in Sonos's world.
Kind of like TiVo, right?
Those pieces of gear aren't going to help you later if you wanted to do something drastically different.
I put some of the links in the Friday Live section of the Amazon store just so you can know what Mark's talking about.
Yeah.
Specifically, because they've been around for a while, so they have some models that have been discontinued, some that are new. I think that's it.
How do you not make a joke about that for college nicknames?
I know, right?
Right, John? You know what I'm talking about.
John.
Okay.
Sonos and Plex. Yes, Sonos works with Plex.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah. So if you have your music library on Plex,
Well, if
you can play through.
they integrate with just about every
everything.
music service. So once you're in the Sonos app, you could tie it into, Spotify, Pandora, your own library, Plex,
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Music. All that stuff is tied in. The one feature that kind of comes and goes is whether it integrates with audiobooks. I'm pretty sure right now it does. It did for a while, then it didn't, and now I think it does. So if I'm listening to Audible, I think I could push Audible to my Sonos.
So we need to move Deadpool because we had a super chat to move Deadpool.
Okay, I'll go do that.
And while you're doing that, I will look at the show titles. I already know what the show title is going to be.
It's going to be Milk and the Duck, you know that. Oh yeah, actually, Bubba's Workbench has a great point. IKEA is really getting into the smart home game, and they are partnering with Sonos, and they do have an less expensive Sonos speaker that you should look into. Thank you, Bubba's Workbench. I forgot about that. You can keep asking questions if you want.
Okay, well, go get your whatchamacallit. I also need to pick a winner for the guild project, and I'm going to pick Cyborg Samurai because he got you fired up, and I like it when you getting fired up. So.
TO'd, baby.
Cyborg Samurai, email me, Nicole@thewoodwhisperer.com.
Guess what?
I will get you hooked up with a free project in the guild.
Found my glasses.
Oh, there they are.
Where do we want to put them?
Where do you want to put them?
Let's put them over by Powermatic.
Hanging from Powermatic. Oh, that's good.
Right by the P. Right by the ocarina.
Whoa.
We're going to play the ocarina a little bit. Want to play us out? I'm going to call my horse. Dougie's going to run in here with a saddle. We don't get very far. His legs aren't too long. My feet just drag the whole time.
He jumped from the coffee table to the couch. It was the funniest thing. He's like a wannabe gazelle. That's nice.
Pretty good, right?
Nice.
Not one lesson. What movie is that from? That's pretty good, right?
What is that movie?
What is it? What is it, Nicole? First person who gets it, give him a free project.
Oh, I can't
Who
remember.
Can do? You don't say it because now I want someone in the chat to do it. Whoever says it. Come on. I know somebody knows what that's from.
Not one lesson.
Come on. We'll wait. I'm going to wait. I am
right.
going to sit here and wait. Boom. Jason Small gets it.
Jason! Another guild project. Email me, Nicole@thewoodwhisperer.com, and I'll get you.
That's awesome. Nicely done, Jason.
That's all right. It was Ferris Bueller.
Good job. Not one lesson. Okay. Anything else we got before we go? I think we're good. It was a good show today.
Great show.
Yeah, I'm really feeling good about it.
I feel good.
What am I doing with the rest of my day?
Yeah.
I got to work more on this under cabinet workbench or under workbench cabinet.
Yeah.
I've been getting questions about that for so long now, and people who are currently building the Roubo going, "I'd like to do this extra thing, but I don't want to have to do stuff that I'm going to undo later."
Right.
You might have some stuff to undo.
Yeah.
Because it's a little tricky to fit. You got
rid of the
to maximize the space under a workbench, not interfere with your dogs, not interfere with your leg vise. There's a lot to think about, so we'll get into it. Anyone who's interested in this, by the way, in the Wood Whisperer Guild, it is the under workbench cabinet specifically designed to fit in the Roubo. It can be applied to other benches, but dimensions are going to matter. You might have to resize it. We're probably going to be doing box joints for the outer case, all solid wood construction. Haven't decided on the drawers whether I'm going with mechanical sliders or wood. I'm kind of leaning toward wood, even though I want metal slides. I find them to be much more robust and easier to get to the back of the drawer. But I'm feeling the pressure to do something with just wood.
It's very slow right now. I don't know why, but it is.
It's probably your fault.
It's not my fault. I was going to put a link.
That's not slow. What's slow about that?
It was slow to come up.
Oh, sure.
So.
Sure. But you're on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't matter.
No, it shouldn't. Not anymore.
But
what else we got?
Yeah. Dogs. How much room do you recommend below the surface to stay clear for them?
Well, you don't need any more than the maximum, when you put your dogs all the way down.
Oh, dogs.
Your cabinet can go right to the point that those dogs just graze the top of that cabinet. The dogs, I don't think, are going to be the bigger issue. It's going to be your holdfasts. Holdfasts tend to go even lower than the dogs. So if you're using holdfast, that's the thing. You do have to be careful with holdfasts because, theoretically, your bench gets thinner and thinner over the years if you keep flattening it. So you have to decide how much buffer zone do you want to give yourself, And I think, honestly, for most woodworkers, unless you are super nuts about keeping your workbench dead flat, you could probably give yourself a 1/4 inch between your holdfast and the top of your cabinet, and it probably will last your lifetime.
There you go.
Anything else?
Just go check out woodworkersfightingcancer.com.
Deadpool's half out of frame now. All you see is his legs.
He says, "Oh."
Yeah, it's okay. We'll move them, or maybe we'll reposition the camera.
Yeah. Thanks for
Okay.
hanging
Anything
out with
else?
us and voting on show titles.
Yes, we always appreciate that. So
13 votes for Milk from a Duck.
there you go. Hey, have a great weekend. And once again, if you're in the Colorado area, come see us at the WoodCraft store in Colorado Springs. We will be there from 10 to 12, hanging out, signing books.
I don't even know if I finished that thought when we were
Maybe
talking
not.
about
We get so distracted on this show. It's ridiculous.
So WoodCraft.
Also, quick reminder about the podcast version of this show. I am still dedicated to doing that for the 3 people who listen every week. We take this entire show, put the audio into a podcast format. Just go to any podcast thingy that you use, iTunes or Overcast or Stitcher, I think. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
but it's Wood Whisperer Live is what you're looking for. And if you have a long commute, sometimes if you miss the show, it's a great way to catch up. Yay! And you can also make it go by faster by putting it like 1.25x speed, which is always good. I kind of don't want to stop talking. Can we just keep going?
I have stuff to do.
I have to go inside and deal with the kids.
I have to figure out what the smell is in the basement.
All right, I'll go look at that because that's disturbing.
Yes, it is.
Okay, have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye.